Bonjour, bon matin, c'est le mercredi quand je discute des choses en français. Mais aujourd'hui, je vais parler en anglais pour la dernière fois. This will be the last video I upload to YouTube while certain organizations continue to exist. I'm showing you something I created already a video about because this will be the introduction of this topic. As proof again, I published this research guide used by libraries, also called a LibGuide, to help highlight a new collection of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign created with my assistance, featuring these 11 authors, suggesting more, and featuring their books, as I showed you in the other video, through carousel mode, so you can see their works. From this project, I was encouraged to write and submit a research article about the process of discovering and ordering the books to grow the collection. It's called collection development, which is one of the branches of collection management, right? The other end of collection management is withdrawal. That's the removing of items that are no longer, you don't have space for them, right? Because libraries have limited space. And as things get older, they don't always have the ability to get repaired. Things also go lost, right? I've spoken in other videos how sometimes broken and lost items are intentional, and certain libraries allow that to happen, or when it happens, there's kind of like good riddance, and they don't ever purchase the item again. Big university libraries have lots more funds, like the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I supposedly helped them purchase about 60 titles from these 11 authors. As I showed in my previous video, not all the titles show up, which means even though they said they were going to buy all the titles, they did not. This was the journal, one of the journals I was encouraged to submit my research to. I submitted it in 2024. I got back, their answer. I submitted it, I think, maybe in March or April, and then I got back feedback in August. Okay. That's my title, Comprehensively Collecting Afro-Canadian Francophone Literature. Is not easy yet. The word comprehensively means, especially for big universities, collecting everything. Here's my little self-description. I attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I got my MLIS. Was, hoping to contribute towards scholarship around making diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility collection development easier. And through my work, I found that it's not an easy process, and that's probably a stumbling block or an issue for why we don't have more Black and other minority authors in our libraries still. A little brief abstract, if you're aware, is here. So in, the fall of 2023, I worked with the Literatures and Languages Library at UIUC to develop this sub-collection, it's called, of Afro-Canadian Francophone literature. And that was to meet goals the university had set for itself to, of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. I discovered 12 authors using a multi-directional research, and with the case study, I was able to see that the process isn't sustainable, as in they're a lot more ready to collect books from white authors, I'm going to say, than from black authors. And this has several facets to it that I go through in this article. I'm not going to read the article to you, but I will scroll through so that you can see what I found. I will read the introduction. The importance of considering diversity, equity, inclusion, and access during collection development has become new standard practice for many academic libraries in North America, including the Languages and Literatures and Languages Library of the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign campus. Two exemplary articles published in Collection Management discuss their processes of adding titles by Indigenous Americans and other minority groups. As these previous case studies describe, the ways of discovering and acquiring these materials, especially with an insistence upon purchasing physical monographs, those are books, before licensing their digitalized versions, that's like an ebook, has not necessarily become easy yet. This case study seeks or aims to describe an in-depth collection development activity of Afro-Canadian Francophone literature to help other libraries more easily collect these materials or to know about them when they're asked. Not every academic institution collecting French works will have as large of a budget to purchase or as wide a range of shelves to house the more than 60 titles selected through the discovery steps used here. Nonetheless, hopefully, the authors highlighted and the publishers identified are added to book vendor approval plans where helpful, like those Gobi curates. Certainly, the acquisition of works by French writing Afro-Canadians does not fit the scope of every European or Romance language library, but other minority groups publishing in these languages could qualify for selection, so the considerations thought through below could prove useful in similar local searches. Even during this quite niche acquisition project, other groups of Francophones, North Americans of African ancestry, and minorities speaking languages other than English were seen as next areas for growth in collecting diversely, with equity, thinking about inclusion, and providing the widest access. This is a long article. It's a genuine research article, folks, y'all. I did the process. I followed the steps. I had it approved by my research professor. And this is what I found. I'm going to let you just kind of pause and read if you choose to. I can always send you this as well if you are wanting it. I am a real person. I can send things through email. More on that later. While scanning this and showing it to you, I'm remembering lots of the steps that I had to go through to collect these 60 titles. All the minutia kind of you have to dig up and sift through just to find like 11 new authors, because I already had one major author. So there's 12 total authors collected, yes. You hear that snoring in the back? That's my dog snoring. He's obviously not interested in reading. Now, any good research article is only as good as its references. These are clickable if you'd like to go to them. Again, I can send you this. This rejected article by Taylor and Francis. And this is what I think is the most important part of the article, the appendices. So here are authors that I suggest um, people should collect if they think this type of book collection is important. So Marie Céliagnan, Aidan Armé, Franz Benjamin, Joël de Rosier, Daniela Ferrière, Didier Leclerc, Stéphane Martelly, Melchior Bonipa, Stanley Payan, Anthony Feld, Rodney Saint-Éloi, Chloé Savoie-Bernard. And then there are some authors that I didn't order from, but I thought they might produce much more in the future, or maybe they, have some things the library would reconsider in the future. Serge Agnessin, Valba, Mayra Bruno de Costa, Aya Villac, Blaise Ndala, Franck Sylvestre, Juju Turenne. And then part of the collection process with libraries is not only to find the authors, but to find those publishers of those authors because that's how you get the books. Most authors don't sell books themselves. They have a publisher publish the book for them, and then the author gets paid royalties or a lump sum or whatever happens, depends on the publisher. These publishers then choose, how to sell those books. So Civica is a publisher. I'm a collector of materials. Groupe Nota Bene, which includes Alias Triptyque, again, a good one to watch, and Mémoire d'Ancre. And there are ones to watch to keep an eye on. So maybe don't make don't make a purchasing order with these, but like keep an eye on what they release. So Noir, Prise de Parole, Rému Ménage. Why wasn't this accepted? Well, those who reviewed it, Derek Moser and Cara List from Missouri State and Northwestern, uh, were the ones who reviewed it. When I first got the rejection, there was no feedback from any of the editors. So it was just a rejected manuscript without any feedback on how to, improve it. Pardon me. And then I was reading what Derek said. His little like, we really support DEIA. Bullshit. Prove it. It's like these two white people telling me they believe in DEIA, and I'm, like, okay, prove it. Because we look at their ways they reviewed it, Derek's are very nitty gritty, and I'm like, are these really going to make my article that much better? where you ask these questions like, I don't believe you understand. Like, yes, I do. Maybe you don't understand how UIUC does things, sir. And this is Kara's real recommendations. You know, they had to add certain parts. Like, this isn't the type of article I was writing. I wasn't writing a research article. I was writing a methods article. You know, like a process review, it's called. And so like they were asking for all these parts. And then I would essentially say Kara and Derek's recommendations went opposite directions. So if I were to actually implement both of their recommendations for my research, it wouldn't have been this like it can't be the same article because they recommend such different things to the article. Like certainly I could fix the little small little nitty gritties, but that's really what's blocking it. You can fix that. You're the editors. You know what I mean? And then all these big parts, like that's not the purpose of this article. You obviously missed. Where was one? They said something about like we don't think the discussion of the authors here. They said the background information on the authors doesn't seem to add substantial value. Bullshit. That's the purpose for writing this article, to give airtime to these authors so that other libraries see that they're valuable. So they read my article, didn't get the point, and made shitty ass remarks to just essentially block it. So Derek Mosier and Kara List from Missouri State and Northwestern are gatekeepers, even though they said that there's no gatekeeping. We think, uh, this is really important. Whatever, liars. And, I'm fed up with our system as it is today. And why this is my last video is because, have you seen this ICE list? This amazing list compiled by Europeans goes into deep, there was some whistleblowing and there was some collection of data through means that Europe can do that America cannot, or because Europe has stronger data protection and all that, like they can. It's harder to research European companies than it is to research American companies because Americans don't believe in data protection. We just don't have that strict privacy laws here. Privacy doesn't exist. Again, if you saw the testimony that Pam Bondi gave most recently, you know that if you are looking at the Epstein files, then the government knows that you're looking at them. So if the government can know that you're looking at the Epstein files, the government knows what you're looking at all the time. The government knows I'm watching. Look at this page. And good for them. Fuck them. All right? If you know these companies, if you work with them, if you like them, you are working with, supporting, and liking ICE. Yeah, you are. It hurt me. This is why this is my last YouTube video, y'all. This is why I'm not going to be using Gmail anymore. This is why I got to get out. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't listen to music anymore, y'all. I got to figure out. I got to figure out ways to replace this. So what I've been doing is I found this website made by I think Scott Galloway, Tom Galloway. His last name's Galloway, and he's calling for a big economic strike. This started, I think, either at the end of January or the beginning of February. But this is what calls to action for everyone. If you actually dislike ICE and you actually want to make an impact, voting is not going to happen until November, but people's pocketbooks can get affected right now. Okay? If you have anything to do with Amazon, you are ICE. If you have anything to do with Apple, you are ICE. If you have anything to do with Google, you are ICE. If you have anything to do with Microsoft, like this laptop is a Microsoft laptop, I gotta really think about this. That is ICE. Paramount, ICE. Twitter, ICE. OpenAI, ICE. Netflix, oh, this was tough. ICE. Uber, ICE. Meta, ICE. I just, WhatsApp is a way to communicate with my family internationally, and I'm not able to do that anymore. So I'm really having to figure out like how do I actually make an impact so that ICE is damaged, ICE is hurt. We can put ICE agents on docs. Oh, if you want to dox ICE agents, please do. By the way, here it is. See if you're related to one of them. See if one of them was one you know. Okay. You know, if you go to the front page of this website, you can see Timothy Donahue, right? You can figure out about Ariane Moore, you know, the one who killed um, my neighbor Silverio Villegas Gonzalez by running him over. It's like, oh, if you want to run my neighbors over, then we get to run ICE agents over, okay? Squash their brains, make their brains ooze out their ears. ICE agents are not Americans. ICE agents are not humans, okay? AT&T is ICE. Comcast is ICE. Charter Communications is ICE. Dell is ICE. FedEx is ICE. Home Depot and Lowe's are ICE. Marriott is ICE. UPS is ICE. Again, this is what he's done. This is how he's asking you to share. Scott Galloway, this is it. He's a straight white man. You know, you don't have to listen to some gay liberal like me. You can listen to straight white independent. He's not even a Democrat, y'all. He's an independent. You know, if you want to look for the other companies that you want to, you know, boycott and figure out how you want, like Ring, if you have a Ring on your house, ICE. You know, if you have something of Amazon, you know, listening like an Echo. My husband just tried to install an Echo in our bedroom. Like, no, I'm gonna throw that out in the trash. Like, I'm just like so bothered. CBS News. I was like, what? Okay, I have to rethink everything, right? So as you are going through your life and thinking how you want to really live it, keep this in mind. Please do support Afro-Canadian Francophone literature if that's up to you. And please do resist and unsubscribe and boycott these bastards for the sake of peace and blessings. Au revoir, peut-être.